Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's podcast for the Zero Fucks Club. My name is Z, or Zed if you like. And this week on the podcast, we have a very special guest. We're calling her Annie. And Annie was lucky enough to go to Betrayal and see the play and do the stage tour. And she may have been partial to the shenanigans that have happened, of which we've been talking about this week. So she was generous enough to call in, and we're going to do a little interview and talk about what happened, and maybe she'll give some tips and talk about her experience at the play and at the stage tour. So then we'll talk maybe a little bit more about Tom, what went on with him this week, and we'll dip into the snake pit for a minute and talk about that bitch. And then I'll talk about what I'm obsessed with this week. And that'll be the podcast. So next up, welcome our guest, Annie. All right. Hi, Annie.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Hopefully this is, it looks like it's recording just fine. So, I want to welcome you and thank you again for calling in. Let us know a little bit about your experience at,
all right. Yeah.
At
No
Betrayal.
worries. Of course. I definitely think I can hopefully maybe give maybe not a non-story-eyed version of the whole thing, because I'll tell you like it is, and then of course, is now a good time to tell you that I'm the one behind these photos of Zora Salami.
Yes.
I think we'll get to that in a little bit then. So, what? How did you want to do this? Did you want to ask me things, or I can?
Yeah, well, let's start with the. Let's talk about. Well, I don't know what you want to share. You can share as much as you like about your background with Tom and how you got into it, and then what your maybe what your trip to London was like, and then we'll get into the play. Maybe you can give us a little, not too detailed for people who haven't seen it, because I know a lot of people don't want any spoilers, but what your thoughts were, and then we'll get into stage door.
Okay.
So how did you discover Tom?
The whole thing about how I discovered Tom is that I saw him on stage pre-Loki, so I got very lucky to see him in some early stage work, and I'm not going to tell you what I saw him in because it actually might give me away as to who I am.
Okay.
But I can tell you it was at least 2 or 3 years before the first Thor came out.
Okay.
And I was just kind of taken aback by his acting. And of course, it doesn't hurt that he's attractive. So, here I am, kind of attractive, yes. Yeah, kind of. I'm only just trying to underplay it because, I think anybody who's listening to this is clearly not listening for me. They're listening for people talking snack about I guess the fandom police, like a little buddy that we'll be talking about here soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I went a rather long time just following his projects and everything, and not really getting into the who is he and meeting him. But I just kind of, as the years started passing, a lot of fringe friends of mine had managed to meet him in some sort of capacity, and I had some of my own personal things going on, because when I went to that play years ago, it was someone very, very important in my life that took me to that play. And I always kind of connected his work with that person. So there was a little bit of things with that person in my life, and I just kind of made it a resolve. And, some things happened with me too. Just to say, you know what, maybe I should meet him. It might be fun if I can. And here I am.
Yeah, there you are.
Unfortunately, there I am.
You fell down the rabbit hole.
fell down the rabbit hole, and I'm still falling down the rabbit hole. And it just kind of reminds me of that little bit from Ragnarok where Loki's been falling for 30 minutes, but I'm only about 5 minutes into it, is what I feel like.
But it's been 10 years.
At least 10 years.
All right, so you went to London.
Yes, I went to London at the beginning of March, fully intending to go opening week. So I just kind of with my own personal schedule and everything, nothing later in the run would work for me. So I figured, you know what, I'll suck up the cold if there is any. The weather, which it actually rained pretty much nearly every day that I was there. I mean, but you really can't complain.
Oh,
there's so much to do.
Right.
It was nice to have that umbrella, but I had so much fun. I wound up seeing Betrayal a few times and doing Stage Door a few times, and got to meet Tom again. Met Zawe a couple of times, and Charlie. Charlie was the ever elusive one that I only got to see once.
Yeah, he doesn't seem too keen on Stage Door.
I could kind of see it, because the time that I actually got him, he went down the line, but he actually came out rather early. So Tom kind of stands at the foot of the barrier, and the other two will just go down the line and just take photos, sign, what have you. And it just felt like when Charlie came out that he kind of looked like, oh shit, I've come out way too early. Nobody really wants to see me. And I just kind of stuck my head there and was like, I want to see you, Charlie, please.
Ah, poor guy. That must feel weird.
For me, I actually thought that he kind of plays, kind of going to the play and everything. And I'm really trying not to give away too many spoilers about the production, because I know that there's a lot of people who still have yet to go see it, but will be listening to this.
Yeah. But
hopefully, if you know about the play, hopefully you've at least read, or maybe even know a brief synopsis of what's going on, is that Tom plays the cuckolded husband, and Charlie is the best friend that basically fucks the wife behind his back. Charlie's character actually kind of was a bit scummy to me at that point, but he also kind of straddles the line of between scummy and kind of suave, and that's really something you kind of have to wait until you see the play to really understand. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a few lines in it actually where I kind of caught myself just being like, oh, if anyone had said that to me, I probably would have just given them my underwear at that point.
So maybe people are kind of reacting to his character, you mean, when they don't really care to meet him?
I think so. And plus, of course, you went, of course, when the tickets went on sale, that was about 6 weeks of just them selling tickets off of Tom. So I was there during pre-sale and everything, during the early access sale, and I saw the computer systems crashing, being unable to complete my ticket sale for hours. And when it was announced that it was going to be Charlie, I actually was headed to Phoenix, right after during the announcement.
Right.
And of people had brought copies of Betrayal for them to sign, and everybody who had this copy of Betrayal, I would see him ask, "Did you know that I was going to be in this?" And I actually told him, I said, I didn't know that you were going to be in this, but I knew that you were going to be here anyway. So I'm glad that you are, so I can put you on my copy too.
Right. But the answer for most people was no. We brought it for Tom.
The answer for most people was definitely no.
Right.
It's a lot, because you just kind of look. I'm like, I kind of wonder what Charlie feels too, seeing all these people wait for Tom and kind of not really giving a shit about him, and it makes me sad, because I think he's a wonderful actor, but at the same time, I think most people can't recognize him outside of what he's done, or the big thing that he did was Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and of course anybody can come in and chime that he's done other stuff, but that's the one that I always connected him to, Daredevil. I think he was on Boardwalk Empire for a little bit. He did Stardust, which I didn't know that was him, but apparently he's in that, and that was the Neil Gaiman movie, I think. But he's definitely a much smaller name than someone like Tom, and of course when lots of really rather good tickets go during that the last 2 days of November, it's because of Tom,
Right. For sure. And I think he must, you have to put your ego aside at that point and understand that he's a movie star, I mean, he's been in some of the highest grossing movies and he's a much more recognizable name than, so I can't imagine, Charlie would think like, oh, they're going to have just the same reaction to me as they do to Tom Hiddleston, Not to mention the fan group he has beyond, most actors, I think.
I can't tell if I just have my blinders on, but I always thought that some other actors do kind of draw that similar fanatic fan base that Tom does. I can't say that Charlie does, but I definitely think with like the Cumberbatches is who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I've seen too much of it, but is it similar? Because I knew that you had a particular likeness for.
Right, I was a part of that. Yes.
Is it messier now that you've crossed over, or less messier?
I mean, now it's a lot smaller. I think everybody jumped ship. Not everybody, but there's a lot less. Of course, he doesn't have the buzz that he did before in any way, which I think was his choice. I think he did a lot of things that pushed away his fans. Not just getting married, that not even that, but just the way he talked about his having fans like that and being known for having those fans. I think that he didn't want that. He wanted to be a serious Oscar-winning actor, and not not be where every single time he was interviewed or anything like that. He talked about Cumberbitches, or they asked about these fans, or Sherlock, or something like that. And so I think he wanted to distance himself from all of that. I don't know if that was a good thing for him, because now it's kind of like, where is he and what is he doing? I mean, he's done. Patrick Melrose was good, but I don't think he got any buzz at all. He didn't win any awards for it or anything. And I think he put a lot of heart and soul into that. He always wanted to do it. But, so anyway, I just think that, but at its height, it was, a crazy time. There were, it was a lot of people, and, the same kind of thing where it was divided between, like, nannies and, the more realistic, fans who, in my opinion, of course that's my opinion, because I was on the other side, but, the ones that worshipped him and he couldn't do no wrong and you couldn't say anything negative against him, versus the people who just saw him as, like, a good-looking actor who they liked, and they weren't, necessarily, like, obsessed with his perfection and yelling at people on the internet about him and defending everything he did, and, so that was the most I'd seen, but I don't know if any other actor really has. I think more the singers, like I would equate it to more like Beyonce and Lady Gaga and, the Swidiots and that kind of thing, for people who were like, have as much care and will go to, will fly all over the world, or will go to, every event or every concert or whatever that they can to see them and meet them and that kind of thing. I think Tom is almost unique in that way.
And I kind of feel bad for the guy, because I did stage door a few times when I was in London, and there was a lot of people who had made the journey, myself included, who made a very far journey to come to London to see him on stage again. There were a few people who actually, you could definitely tell they were struggling with English. I mean, that's just an observation of mine. Whether or not they were observant, that they could probably speak better English than maybe I can sometimes. That was just my perception of what I saw. So let's just put a disclaimer that I'm not I'm not racist or anything, but I did see people struggling to speak the full sentence to him in English, and I do admire stuff like that. Where, I myself come from a multilingual background, and it would kill me to see anybody that I knew struggle to get their point across in a language that, in something like English. But props to them for coming and just trying, But sometimes too, that whole, I'm like, I wonder if it's just a cultural thing where, particularly what I notice in some other cultures, that almost like idol worship,
Yeah.
So and that's a little weird. That's a little weird to me. But we'll get back to. We can talk about that later.
Right. Yeah. Back to the stage door.
Stage door, yes.
Yes. So, I mean, was it really, like, do you feel like it was pretty calm and, but, I mean, you can get into the whole Zahora thing if you want to. That didn't seem calm. The pushing and the cutting and the holding place in line and that kind of thing, what security said, and, because, she's claiming that security said, oh, okay, that's fine, no problem. That this friend held herself in, placed in line or something like that.
Now, Zora, I know that you're listening to this, and let me just tell you that if you didn't want to be talked about, you really should have behaved better. The whole thing is, I'm not one for people, trying to disrespect the production, disrupt theatre staff who are just trying to do their job of being basically asshole. The way that I experienced stage door, and by the time that this had happened, it had already been. This was like maybe my third time. It was my third time. Excuse me. Let me clarify that. My third time, where as soon as the bowing started in the show, the cast comes out for bows, then they come back out for a second bow. After that first bow, you can leave, is what I kind of interpreted that. Like, the production's officially done, you can go. I would see people trying to leave before that was over, and that's just kind of like, it's not cool, because aren't you there to see the play? Like, you paid to see the play, not to go line out in the cold, or in that instance, the rain, because the rain started coming that evening. Security did get, like, I had seen some conflicting stories on Twitter and just kind of like all over the place about how much of a mess it had been the first couple of days for stage door. Security did start to check tickets to make sure that you were in that show that was just letting out, and it was probably maybe the best thing that they could have done. I did read instances of All About Eve where, which is on the West End right now with Lily James and Gillian Anderson. I think probably most famously known for X-Files. So you could meet her, you could get an autograph, no photos, or you could get a photo of her signing your autograph, or what have you. But you had to have a ticket from that production, and the thing you could have signed would be either a program or your ticket. Like, no arguments there. Yeah. It's very well, and they would check your ticket, and it was fine. She was very comfortable sitting in the lobby of the theater, signing autographs, talking to people. Very, very lovely woman, and has aged very, very well. It's so that was kind of a stark contrast between seeing something like that and experiencing All About Eve, and that stage door experience where it was kind of funny that Gillian was actually in the front lobby of the theater, and Lily James, her co-star, went out back to the stage door in the rain, and she would not take photos either, but she would make sure everyone who wanted an autograph got one on their program or the ticket or whatever. It was just very, very nice to see. But kind of going back to Betrayal stage door is, I do feel really bad for those. I feel really bad for that staff, the theatre staff, and the security, because you could tell that while they're just trying to do their job, they definitely have had it up to their had it up to here with kind of just a lot of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going back to that night with Zora, I left the theatre went out the door to get into the queue. Now, if you are listening to this and you want to know how to get into the stage door queue, go early and look at the theatre layout. Talk to people. Because if you talk to the right staff, they can tell you exactly what you need to do. And I had actually seen Betrayal up from the Royal Circle, which it's the level above like on the second level. So a lot of people have said, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to get down there in time, what have you. There is a priority start to the barricade. I think every time I saw it, it was the same 3 gentlemen doing the security for the stage door. And those gentlemen do not work for the theatre, from my understanding. Is that they were actually hired by Jamie Lloyd, or maybe even Tom's personal bodyguards. But it's the same 3 guys who have to stand there and basically corral everybody in. Listen to them, they are very nice men. Don't be a jerk. And also, it's never a guarantee, because at any point they could stop stage door. They're telling you instructions just to make sure that everybody can get at least some time, maybe a signature with somebody. Sorry, I keep veering off of the actual story, but I had gotten into line with someone, and I had gotten into line with a friend of mine, and I witnessed, it was rather calm. Sometimes there are actually vehicles on that street that are parked there, so you can't really go anywhere from the barricade to the street, except that night was a little different because there was actually a space. We were all queuing up, and all of a sudden this pack of women, maybe about 4 or 5, I could be wrong about that, were German speaking. I definitely know what German sounds like to know that it was them speaking German. Security is already watching the line, seeing, okay, that you need to be paired up, file in lines of 2. These women had tried to assert themselves into the line to make it rows of 3. And what happened was they were also trying to shove some women out of line too. I think one of them I identified as probably someone who was definitely not 18 yet, so a child. A child may be used loosely, a teenager, really. Mm-hmm. But that triggered, because I could just tell by looking at the girl, there was no way she could stand a chance being shoved around by these women. And I mean, good on you, Zora, for bringing your muscle-bound women. Muscle being used very, very loosely there. What happened and what her story was, because I read it. That's a load of bullshit, and you know it. Security did say you could join one friend. You could have one friend join you in line. One friend, not a whole gang of you. And that was what happened. Is that whole gang followed along with her. And it got to the point where that poor girl that I'm referring to starts to believe that she's not going to get her shot to meet him because these women are pushing her around.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. That's definitely not okay, because she followed the rules, because they actually do look at your ticket. She followed the rules, went to security, showed the ticket, and said, do I just go this way? Yes. If there's any problems, you need to let them know. Security will come down the line and say, if there's people who shouldn't be there, let us know and we'll kick them out. Unfortunately, that's not what's going on. I think they're really just trying to not make anybody angry whilst all trying to keep order. So I had noticed that there was someone who said, this woman has 5 people with her. We were here first, and we didn't see anything was done. So,
and do you think those women had tickets to the show, or they didn't? They just...
The thing is, they've got... The way that it's set up is there's barricades, and at the top of the barricade, they've got one guy stationed there. And they had the advantage of having the cars there to act as another barricade. But that night was different, and there wasn't a car there. So really, anybody could run across the street and join the line.
I see.
And
so where do you check the tickets, like when you first start to queue up? Who checks the tickets?
there's
Does he go down the line of the people who are already in line, or is it like is there a
people
beginning?
Who actually line up. There's people who line up even who don't have tickets for that night at all. So they're on one side of the sidewalk, and they're actually set back, I would say probably about 10, maybe not 10, maybe about 5 meters from the beginning of the barricade. And they've got the one guy parked there, and he's like, let me check your tickets. So he'll look at the ticket, see what production you just got out of, and it better be that one for the day that just came out. Because I had seen some women try to use earlier tickets. Like tickets from the previous day or even the matinee. I don't know if they've changed it where a matinee person could go to the later stage door. So I've heard some conflicting stories about that. So if anybody wants to chime in and say they are allowing that, I could just tell you from my experience they were not. So they would look and say, okay, you can get in the queue. So I don't doubt that somebody in her posse had a ticket for that evening. I just don't know how many of them there were. So, had she played fair, did that one friend who could join, there wouldn't have been a problem. It was when they started getting physical that there was a problem.
Yeah.
So, like, I had seen her previous posting about somebody taking up 10 minutes of Tom's time and then having to cut off stage door. And I had seen her complaint for that. But if you're going to complain about it, why the hell would you try to do it yourself the next day? Because that's exactly what happened. Is there was enough time for the people in front of her to, get their signatures and their photos and continue on, and then all of a sudden it's her turn, and it's magical because at some point in that whole ruckus of about 5 minutes, her posse had basically formed a human barrier around her to kind of get her that private space with Dom. And I witnessed big flashing, probably from a cell phone or something, where it started going, like, almost blinding him in the face, really.
You can see that video.
You could see it, because you'd also be able to see, like another evening, I saw a photographer with a big lens, and a big flash, and that flash was hot, taking photos of Tom. And I don't know what kind of money you're getting for these photos of Tom. He looks exactly the same every night.
Right.
With her, it was almost like I don't even know how to describe it. Is that I saw her with Tom. I saw her gang of women behind her flocking and basically just trying to not even get people to get photos of him, because I know that I've got photos of him signing with other people just to get photos of him. Why not? What I saw was that they were just basically just trying to obstruct the view of everybody else with these women standing there, and you saw the photo flashing, and he just kind of I had looked, and he spoke loud enough that you could hear him a few people back, where he said, "Are you good? Like, do you want to be in them? Like, you've got enough photos?" Because at that point he had been squinting because his flash had been going off in his face probably continuously for maybe about a minute.
Well.
And so Zora kind of slides up and gets her photo, and I think I had been fast enough to get the photos that I did. I think it's just gold that he kind of lent himself that disgusted look on his face, like, are you freaking serious that this is happening right now? Well, I think what I noticed is that those friends of hers, I don't know if they got photos with him. I think it was all for her. Right,
they were just there to take more pictures for her of them having their moment.
It's just like
Could you hear what she was saying to him?
I heard a little bit of it. I was too far back and the rain started coming down. But I do know, I think I talked to enough people in my life to know when someone's just giving you lip service. Where it was a oh, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, blah, blah, blah. Because it was a completely different experience when she left. and that girl, because he was speaking loud enough, and you could definitely tell by his body language that the moment that Zora left, it was almost like she had taken this gloom away, even if the rain was coming down. So after all of that, they just kind of migrated across the street, and that's where a lot of people will stand and just take photos of him. They'll wait for him to come out of stage door.
Yeah.
I know that I think the first week he had brought his dog every day.
Mm-hmm.
Or something, and at one point I believe his mom was there.
Yeah.
At one point. But people would wait for him to leave, and it's weird. It was weird to see. Because, like, I remember being a teenager at the height of the boy band craze, and or like whatever teen idol I was obsessed with at the time, and just waiting for a glimpse to see them. I understand that, but if he looks the same all the time, why are you going to look at him like that?
Well, it's just that's the zoo animal part that I think. There's a difference between a stage door. That's kind of a normal thing that they do, for plays and actors, and they're used to that. But the fact that all those people wait outside for him, and then they scream when he walks out, just so he can get in his car and go home, to me, that's where he seems like they're just waiting for an animal at the zoo to come out. So yeah, I agree that's the most bizarre part of all this.
It's a little bizarre, and you kind of feel bad for the security who has to look at that, and his co-stars also have to look at that too.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of going back to that, I'm like, I couldn't hear a lot of what was most of what was said, but just looking at, I didn't see her look on her face. I saw his.
Yeah.
And it almost looked like he was like, just freaking pull my teeth out or whatever, shoot me, something, make me stop. But when they eventually migrated off, and the person behind her goes up and gets her photo, it's like night and day. It was like night and day. I actually did witness the teenager finally get her moment with him, and when you see something like that, it's almost magical, because it's nice to see that he still has that niceness about him, as kind of harsh as it was the past few years with after all of that crap, to see someone who was just genuinely excited to meet him and didn't think that they were going to meet him until 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
That she got to talk to him and everything, got a photo with him, and she walked across the street and dodged a car coming. But like just stuff like that, it was like, why was that worth you cutting and pushing somebody?
Yeah.
So that you could have your pseudo magical moment, that you shove somebody out of the way for. Like, how dare you?
Right. Well, we know she thinks she's a better fan than everybody else. And because she felt like she got screwed out of meeting him the day before by somebody, she didn't feel bad screwing other people out of their moment, potentially, so that she could get hers. It's entitlement, It's
entitlement. Sure. It's like, Zora, get another hobby. Actually, don't even stalk somebody else. Just stay your ass in Germany. And, just stop. I mean, you're a scumbag. You're a scumbag of the highest order. And it's just that behavior. I've seen some pretty heinous behavior from people before, but that was ridiculous. Like, 99% of that line came in the right way, not coming in from the side like she did.
Mm-hmm.
And if had she behaved better, had she actually been in that production and got in line, like she could have, she probably would have had that moment. But that whole entourage, that was what pushed it over the edge.
Right, and that's what called attention to herself. For you to be like, hey, I know her. And then when she tells the story that she did it, then it's easy to put two and two together, And
it's one of those things. I mean, that video that I saw, the video that eventually came out of it, and saw that what she had told actually didn't match what what happened,
Right.
what transpired, because it's you can have your experiences feel special. The only way people are going to try to take that to you is if you don't tell the entire truth. And
right,
like I know my experiences, and I have my photos and my memories of them. I know what I experienced, but at the same time, no, I don't need to brag about it.
right. That's the big difference to me. The way that it's told to, through the blog or through whatever, however you talk about it. It's like, she has that entitlement where she feels like she's a better fan because she went to things. I posted something about it, of course, all that stuff. And then I said something about Schadenfreude, and then she posted on hers, with a hashtag of, well, at least I'm going and I saw the play and you didn't get to, or you haven't. I'm like, what are we, 12? Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the point of this at all, but that's that's how a 12-year-old would say, nah, 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 nah. I got to go and you didn't, and that's all that matters,
Well, I could probably tell you that maybe not even maybe, that she's definitely on some sort of list, because just judging by his reaction, he, internally went, oh, fuck.
Right.
Like, oh, fuck, it's her.
Well, I mean, you couldn't, he doesn't forget a face, and then after that Berlinale, horrible, embarrassing incident, he's never going to forget her face. And of course, she's been to things since then, and tried to ask questions. We know she was at the...
Is it the same
Q&A that he did with Josie, and she tried to ask questions, and she didn't get called on. Well, that's on purpose. Hello.
Yikes. I mean, it's just like, maybe there's some questions you don't need answered. Zora, stop asking about unrelated. Oh.
Right. Like, it's, but I truly think that she thinks if she asks a question like that is that detailed and random, it shows that she is a bigger fan, or more, that she's seen everything. She wants to prove that. Rather than just being like, oh, tell us more about Loki, or, that kind of stuff that she thinks, people ask that aren't good enough fans.
What does that accomplish you, whether or not you've seen all of his filmography or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Does that get you a gold star? Because I've never been one to really see what the point is of trying to one up people by, I've seen all of his work or whatever. So what? Okay, you've seen more of his work.
Yeah.
That doesn't negate anybody else's experience as a fan. It makes you a little bit more proficient in his work, and that's okay, but you don't accomplish anything else out of it.
Right.
And bragging about it, come on. Like, that just shows how much time you've invested, and I mean, maybe that's me kind of being a little bit of a whatever on myself, since like I saw him years ago before he was Loki. So what? What does that prove to anybody?
Yeah.
Whatever, right? So, though I will say that I did get to see Twinkie Thomas, and that is a special memory.
Right. Yeah, that's lucky.
Twinkie Thomas with his blonde curls.
Mm-hmm. That's a good look.
I actually kind of like his Coriolanus look, the beefcake, that beefed up Tom, and he's actually looking quite good in Betrayal too. I'm sure from the production photos you can tell how that jumper just clings to his muscles,
right? And
it's quite nice, because I think the first stage door I did, he was wearing the burgundy one.
Oh, you got the burgundy one, did you? I
got the burgundy one, and I didn't get the peacoat over it.
Oh, so, wow.
He came out in the burgundy, and I went, oh man, he's wearing not dark blue. I'm like, I can't believe my luck. And
that was a big day for the fandom.
That was a big day. I was just basically, I have experience being ogled by men, just by having kind of a bigger chest, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I was definitely ogling him, and that sweater, hugging his pecs like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how could you not? It's just like, can you just like maybe motorboat me a little bit with that? I mean, I came all this way, maybe.
Right.
I mean, I took a shit, right?
Yeah. Where's the raffle for that?
Shoot, I would probably, if I had the £10,000, I probably would.
Right. Yeah, that was lucky. So did you get a blue one too? Picture?
I got one of him with his pea coat done up, but I think you could tell from the like other photos of that evening, is you could tell that he had the blue one like completely
underneath
like
it, right.
sleeves down and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I do have. I think I actually did manage to see him out and about in London when he was on his jog in between the matinee and the Saturday show, because he went for a jog.
Oh, jog. Oh, okay, yeah.
And
in the shorts and the tights.
The shorts, the tights.
Yeah.
Actually, he didn't have the tights on that day,
oh,
so
okay.
you got to see his calves.
Okay.
And so, like, slightly different outfit, the running outfit.
Yes, variation.
It's just like, what's going on with all of your money, Tom? Because clearly you've done how many conventions in the past year? You've made all of this money, all of this fangirl money, some of which is mine.
Right.
Why are you not buying any new clothes?
Or a new phone, which you've discovered is cracked beyond.
I bet he's probably giving what the dog's name is, Bobby, right?
Bobby.
Giving Bobby everything that little dog could desire. But like super organic food, all of that.
Right.
Groomers and whatever.
Well, so he's how do you feel about the hair in person?
The hair. It's so the Saturday that the infamous Zora lie happened, we saw him before the rain started really falling down. So
yeah,
it looked very soft and touchable. Like if he just leaned into it, maybe just like leaned into my hand, I would have touched it. But I like it. I think he could probably use a trim. I think he's probably just clinging on to this whatever look that he's got going on.
Yeah. Until
he has to start doing stuff for Loki, which I mean, I'm kind of indifferent at this point because I've seen so much Loki that this whole, I guess, hairy Tom is kind of it's a nice thing, because my favorite look on Tom is that little bit of scruff that he had for Coriolanus at one point.
That was a good one.
I do dig the long hair. Like, it's to the point where when he's done the bow, his hair just kind of falls forward at one point.
Right.
It's like, I'm like, are you clinging to it? Because his hairline isn't getting any better.
No.
I was talking about it with somebody from showing the photos, and they're like, damn, he hasn't got a forehead anymore. It's really more of a 7-head at this point.
No, it's true.
Tell me that I'm wrong.
Right. I do think a shorter haircut would not emphasize the forehead as much.
And I think just you could kind of look at the shape of his head. He could probably pull off bald if he wanted to.
Yeah, he could pull off anything, really, but we don't want to go there yet.
Not yet, if he doesn't have to.
Right.
But I think someone was telling me that he's got... I think I read maybe somewhere that he's straddling the line between, strapping, charming young British man to, like, I guess, like, older rom-com Hugh Grant type. I don't know. I would love to see him in a rom-com. I don't know. I mean, because he's... Going back to the production for a second, he's got some great comedic timing.
Yeah. That's good.
I would love to see him in something like that. Just be lighter. I think it'd just be lighter for him.
Right.
But for the God, if anyone's listening to this who has the power to do that, make him wear something different, please.
I know. I can't believe they didn't even get him to do it in the production. I mean, think about it. Like Hamlet, he wore the same outfit. pretty much. We put a leather jacket on or whatever. In this one, he's wearing the same outfit he wears every day. Like, there's something pathological about this that he, like, physically cannot wear something else. Unless it's that suit. And then that's it. It's just so bizarre.
At one point, so when I got a photo of him with his peacoat done up, I actually had the fucking balls to ask him, "Are you wearing the blue one under that?" And he just kind of like looked at me like blue what under this?
Like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go with the assumption that you're not wearing anything under that. Thanks.
You said that?
I did say that. He kind of laughed. And just I can definitely I can confirm from my own experience that he does recognize faces.
Yeah.
When I asked him that, he had before I had asked him that, he had asked me how I was doing and how far I had traveled, and I had told him, I said, you know what, I was going to be here anyway, and I think he knows he's a great actor, whatever. It definitely doesn't hurt to tell him that, because you get a smile out of him. It's nice and polite. And when I had told him that, I had said, I'm just going to go with it. You're just wearing that. He kind of gave me this smirk, like, why would you say that to me?
Right.
Like, I took a shot, whatever. if anything comes out, then whatever. If not, I just came off a little thirsty, but who cares?
Right.
Clearly, if you're in that stage of your line, you are thirsty for him. That's really what it is. Just judging by the line and who's met him and who's putting their face out there. That I think that's a pretty fair assumption by the bulk of that line.
Well, I think that's an important thing to say, too, is that if I know I talked last week about people who go to a lot of things, and I'm glad that you weren't offended by that, but, you gotta just admit that you're there because, you have a thirst for him, or that there is a part of you that feels good to know that he knows who you are, and recognizes you, and that has to be part of wanting to spend so much time and money and whatever to go to every con or go to see him and do stage door a bunch of times. You know what I mean? There's part of that is, that's part of it. You want, you have a thirst for him and you want him to know it. But I think that some people deny that. Like, oh no, I just love him because he's a good actor, and that's all it is. And I think she acts like that sometimes. Zahora and Grace, or some of those other people that we talk about that go there. I don't like fake, I don't like disingenuous. Like, just be honest about what you're doing and why you're there, and just own it. Do it. It's your life. Do it. So then own it. Don't try to make it like, oh, but we're really friends, or I'm just there because I really love him as an actor, or whatever.
That's a load of crap, because if you were really friends, you'd be coming out of that stage door with him.
Right.
But it's kind of going back to that. I mean, yes, there's an immense amount of thirst, and that's totally. I mean, kind of admitting that you've got this problem is the first step, right?
Right.
And it certainly doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have that. It's fun. I mean, I know as I'm sitting here right now talking to you, Zero, I know that it's not going to progress any more than this. So what? He recognizes me. So what? He knows that I've come a far way to see his play. So what? He probably says the same thing to other people too.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not all that special. But on the flip side, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and that's just really what it should be. It's just, I am going to agree with you and just say, if you owned it, it wouldn't have been that bad. If you're going to try to be the fan police and try to police how people are acting,
right?
I definitely think that there's a fine line between stalking and just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but trying to be a better fan.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just also subjective. I mean, do I think I'm a better fan than some people? No, I think I'm lucky and that I can afford to have these experiences that I do.
Right.
And I choose to share them with who I want to, and I'm glad that you were so receptive to what I told you.
For sure.
Because I don't think that I don't think I want to be. I don't think I want to be out there bragging about what I've done, because I think when you do stuff like that and the whole "look at me, this is what I do," is it does give you the tall poppy syndrome where people just want to cut you down. But in cases like Zora or the other ones that you listed, I think you said Grace, is you put too much out there, you invite it.
Right. Now, you can't help yourself.
You really can't help yourself, because the thing with things like that is anything you put out there is open to interpretation. That's why I don't put things out there, because I don't want things to be misconstrued.
Yeah.
I don't want people to take what I've put out there and twist it and say that, oh, this woman is fucking crazy because she went all the way over there.
Right.
So what if I am? I mean, it's not like I went there specifically for that. I had a whole lot of other things going on when I was in London.
Yeah. And
it just so happened a good chunk of that was going to see a lot of shows on the West End, because in addition to The Betrayal, I saw All About Eve, I saw Hamilton, I saw Book of Mormon, and I had a great time at every single one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, it's a lot, but I guess when you're there, you just kind of have to soak it all in, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's an amazing city, and going to see him in a place is a good excuse to go there. For sure, if you can do it, and see a lot of other things is what I mean. Don't blame you.
It was a lot of fun, but now I think just now is kind of, I did stage door enough to kind of be like, okay, I think I've had enough of Tom. I've had enough of people just in my face,
right?
Because sometimes other people can just take it out of you. And after the Zora incident, there was actually another one. I really can't say that I knew who these women were, but they had tried to cut an entire line too. But I don't know if maybe even Zora knew them. Maybe got tips from that, because the same thing happened where there wasn't a vehicle right there next to the sidewalk to stop. But it's sometimes people are just so exhausting, and I do have to give it to Tom for trying to do stage door and meeting all these people every day, because sometimes you just don't want to. It's people like Zora that just kind of take it out of you.
Right.
People try to behave like.
Yeah. Well, I thank you very much for your story, and for willing to call in and let us know. It was very, very interesting. And so hopefully that helps some people too that are looking to do stage door in the future, in the next month or two coming up. So, any last words?
Not a problem. Thanks for having me here. And not even if you're listening, Zora, I know you're listening. Listen to me when I tell you that you do need another hobby. Behave better.
Alright, be nicer. Get the chip off your shoulder.
Be nicer. Maybe get a haircut and maybe go shopping or something. But probably my last words, just to kind of anybody who's going to be doing this, is just don't be a dick. That's not even specifically to going to London to go to try to do stage door. But I'm going to ask you to rein your expectations down. You're not going to stage door. You have at most maybe 20-30 seconds with him, if that.
Right.
That's even if you get close.
Yeah.
Just remember that it's also never guaranteed. So all you can do is try. And just remember, it's all fun. You're not gonna die if you don't do stage door. I'll tell you that much.
Right. You still were in a room with him and saw him do his thing. Whether you got to meet him or not.
And you got to see him do non-Shakespeare.
Right.
Which was kind of special, in itself.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I think I've said my piece. Thank you so much for giving me a platform, Zero.
For sure.
And I did have a lot of fun reporting back to you.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
So here I am, and then I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later then.
Yes, for sure. All right, thanks so much.
All right, no worries. You're welcome. You have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was Annie, and that was very interesting to have that first line perspective about what happened there with Zohra and the stage door, period. So hopefully that gives you some tips if you're going. We are almost at an hour here, so I'm going to move on to maybe some other things that happened this week. I had a few radio interviews with him. Those were kind of random, how they pop up both in the same day. It just seemed like, what? And those pictures of him filming that ad, that was all one day. It just seemed like a bizarro situation. But yeah, I thought the interview with the musician who did If Beale Street Could Talk was lovely. Just to hear his voice like that, I don't know. He's and the random things he's passionate about, like movie scores, was nice to hear. And then, to finally get a little bit of promo about Betrayal, or the cast talking about, the process, or how they staged it, or, some things like that was nice. They need to do more of that. I mean, I guess they don't really have to, because, the shows have sold out and people are going and it got great reviews and everything. But I still think that, it's something that would be at least nice to do to help get some more publicity about the play, especially now that they added a week to the run. So if they're trying to even sell more tickets, it would be good, I think, for them to go on a talk show or a chat show over there and just talk about the play. But I guess we'll never know if it's going to happen until it happens, as we learned this week. The picture of him being a waiter, and then the picture of him with the cast and crew of that was pretty strange. But I guess that's something we'll either never see, because it's only we'll definitely see it, right? What am I talking about? Because if it's only in Asia, then somebody will put it up on the Weibo, which is how I pronounce it. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. But we'll definitely find it put up there. So I guess we'll see it soon enough. But, you can't blame them. It's like I said, I've seen crazy kind of commercials from Japan and things like that, where there's Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or George Clooney. These people that don't need the money, but it must just be so much money that they can't possibly turn it down for one thing. I remember I went to Paris and I got off the plane, and in the airport there were all these enormous pictures of Leonardo DiCaprio wearing a watch. There was some kind of fancy French watch. And I had never seen these pictures before. I'm a huge DiCaprio fan. And I was like, what? And, then I just figured out that it must have been just so much money that he couldn't turn down just putting on a watch and, taking a picture and selling it over there. So it happens. Whatever. You get yours, Tom. I just wish he'd use that money to buy a new fucking phone and some new clothes instead of, I don't know what he's doing with it. Socking it away in a savings account to never use. But, you can... Everybody can be fine with the uniform, whatever, we all know how I feel about that. But that phone is ridiculous. Phones are a couple $100 or pounds, right? Maybe they're $700 or $800, but that's like a drop in the bucket for him. Go buy a new phone. It's not hard. Everything's in the cloud. It takes 10 minutes. And then maybe you have to log into a few new apps once you get it all up and running. But anyway, I get a new phone every year. And I make, significantly less than him. That's all I'll say, right? Who knows how much less, but really a fucking lot less. And so, it's possible. I would never have a cracked phone. So anyway, that just frustrates me about him. And I would be changing that if I could. Although, the older he gets, the more he's not going to change. So, there's that. Then we got a little Bobby, Muddy Bobby. I wonder what it's like in his white house, because his house is so white and everything's so like sparse and clean. When Bobby comes bounding in with his muddy legs, his whole entire lower body was all mud. But I guess he's figured that out. So that's kind of, I guess, what we had this week that I can remember. Maybe I'm forgetting some stuff, but I don't want to go on too long with this podcast. The only thing I'll say about this steak is this ridiculous thing that I posted about how they're really trying to sell that the Joetmeal doesn't want to be a star. He doesn't want to be a celebrity. I can't decide where they're coming from that, because in one sentence they'll say that, and the next sentence they say how much they're alike. Which, first of all she wants to be is a celebrity. She lives and dies by being a celebrity and being famous. And then they're saying, their personalities are so well matched because he doesn't want to be a celebrity. Well, that's opposite of that. And then I just don't, are they trying to sell that so that when they do break up, when the contract ends, they can say it's because he didn't want to be such a big celebrity and you can't help it when dating her? Except then they've been selling this privacy thing the whole time, how private they are. And it's, they haven't been papped that many times. So, because they haven't called. So, look, I just do not understand this whole line of how private he wants to be, and they're obsessed. I guess that's all they have to say about him. They can't come up with anything else because he's so boring. I also thought maybe he can't get any more roles because of her, and you think the opposite, that she'd have some kind of power to get him roles, but perhaps it's not working, and this is the excuse as to why he's not becoming a bigger star. It's not because he can't, it's because he doesn't want to be a big celebrity. Well, nobody gives a fuck about you, Joe. Literally no one, except for her minions. So they should just quit with all this. If you want to be private, go be private. Quit selling stories to People Magazine about it. And I saw a magazine with her and J-Lo on the front, where it was like A-Rod's been cheating on J-Lo with something, but Taylor picked the perfect guy. How did she get them to do that? I was just like, this is some horse shit right here. God, she's the worst. Anyway, I'm tired of talking about her. And, she didn't bring anything out. Like, they all thought she was going to bring out a new song, new music. Nope, nothing. So she's just a whole lot of nothing. It's just hot air is all it is. So, finally, I said my last section would be what I'm obsessed with this week. Well, I am a college basketball fan. I have been my whole life. My sister played college basketball. And so I'm obsessed with March Madness right now. That's all I'll do all weekend. I couldn't wait. Just sit on my couch and watch basketball. So that is what I'm obsessed with. But if you're not from this country or you don't care about basketball, I'm a little overwhelmed with all the things to see. Because there's a new season of Arrested Development that went down Netflix. I think it was even last weekend, and I haven't had time to watch it. I love Arrested Development. It's one of my favorite TV shows. I know the past couple seasons haven't been that great, but I still love the characters, and Jason Bateman could, do anything for me. I see everything he's in. I also love, if you haven't seen Ozark, it's phenomenal. So watch that. But on my list, I have to watch all of Arrested Development. Queer Eye started a new season. I'm ready to cry through that. Very excited. I do think that if we could nominate Tom, or if they could do a celebrity Queer Eye, that he should absolutely be on there, because, they need to get him some button-down shirts that French tuck into some tight pants, no socks, all that stuff. Some new shoes that aren't boots, for Christ's sake. Even this goddamn summer he wears those boots. And some just, a haircut and a shave, and back to good Tom. And I think that they would do it. So, but anyway, I'm excited about the new Queer Eye. I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet because I've been on vacation and been everywhere. So next week I need to go I need to go do that. And then I'm pretty sure I'm excited about Shazam, just because I like Zachary Levi, and he looks really cute. Like, it's a cute, fun, doesn't take itself seriously kind of superhero movie, which is what I like. I don't like, I said the DC ones where it's so fucking dark, and the screen is dark, and the subject matter is dark, and they're like really earnest about everything. It's a superhero movie. Let's have some fun. So Shazam looks really cute, so I'll probably go see that whenever it comes out. But there's a lot of good things happening right now to watch, and I just don't know how I'm going to get to all of them. So that's what I'm obsessed with this week, is trying to, get better, because now I'm losing my voice. I've been talking for a little while, and to see all this fun stuff that's coming out. So hopefully you have a good week too, and that you enjoyed this week's podcast. And next week I have a plan. Excuse me. That is March Madness focused. I'm going to have another guest, and we are going to play Tom Madness, where we rank. He's going to go up 2 Tom looks from his whole time. Are going to go up against each other, and we're going to debate and decide which one we think should move on, just like a March Madness bracket, and we will get down to see who the ultimate Tom look is, in our opinion, anyway. So that'll be next week's podcast, so I'm excited to do that one. I thought it'd be fun. And so I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.